Hello.
Okay, cool. Testing. We're good. All right. I'm super excited to be doing this interview. I'm going to be interviewing my brother, Jacob. If you guys don't know, Jacob is the owner of Hyde Park Goods. It's an awesome clothing brand and one of the biggest clothing brands out right now, biggest in Houston and soon to be biggest in the world. So I'm really excited to be interviewing Jacob to kind of pick his brain, kind of see how he thinks, what he thinks, what's the next, how can we get to the next level? And I want to ask him a lot of questions on how me as a small business owners and others small business owners, like what could we do to get to the next level like he did. Cool. So super excited to introduce my brother Jacob.
What up?
Cool. Brother, thank you so much for allowing me to do this. I know this was off the whim. I know he's like in and out from Houston, going to Asia probably like tomorrow. So I'm super excited and really grateful for you to let me do this interview with you, bro.
Appreciate you.
So, of course, I just gave you a little intro, but you tell me, bro, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so my name is Jacob, and I am, I guess, like, if you want to put it, like, I'm pretty much just like a creative, like the best way to put like what I do, because it's really hard to.
Yeah.
But I specifically focus on product development, marketing, and let me see here, the distribution of that product, like how people perceive it, where it lives. Kind of focus on curating that pretty much. Maybe like a creative director / entrepreneur, I guess, creative.
Yeah.
Creative person.
So what got you into like creating that product development or like just being a creative overall? I guess like way back in the beginning before Hyde Park even started, like what kind of got you into being the creative? Or like at like what age did you start?
So I guess like maybe if you want to go back to the childhood, like I was like a middle child. So I don't. Okay. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I do.
What is?
I'm actually the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So you have two younger.
I got one younger
So
sibling.
just two of you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So like in a 3-person dynamic, it's like you got the older. My brother was older than me. He was the firstborn, and he got my dad's name. So he's the junior, and then came along me, which my mom wanted a girl, and then they didn't get a girl with me, and so they were like, tried again, and then they got my sister, which is the baby sister. So I think like in terms of dynamic, like my personality type was kind of like an in-between child. So I don't know if people are familiar with being an in-between child, but I think like it kind of started, my story kind of starts with me being like the middle child. And a middle child syndrome, quote unquote, is like the person that kind of gets ignored or kind of like flies under the radar because all the focus and attention was on my older brother.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of pressure, to be, a certain type of person because he was taken after my father, so he has my dad's name. So it was like a really big deal for him. And then it was me, really not so much pressure, kind of like, the in-between. And then my sister, of course, the first girl and the baby girl, so she was always getting all the attention. So like the attention was like totally towards like my older brother or my younger sister. So I was just like the in-between child. Like, so I had my brother's hand-me-downs, and then anything that my sister did was my fault, of course. Like if my sister was not doing this or was doing that, it was always my fault. Like, so I always had to clean up after her. Whatever she wanted, she got. So I kind of just like, I guess like since an early age, developed this attitude of like, okay, I'm gonna have to work really hard, to get some sort of attention, or to make something happen. I had to like to stand out between my brother and my sister. I'd have to
just to kind of get like your parents' attention,
right? Just to even get my parents' attention, in a good way, not in a bad way.
Okay.
For the most part, in a bad way, I kind of slid under the radar. Anything that I did was like kind of like overshadowed by my brother's mistakes, and my sister, like she was a diva. Still is. My sister's a diva. So I feel like it started there, and then I got into graffiti. I started doing graffiti art. So I got into the hip hop culture when I was, I want to say 13. About 13 years old. I started to do breakdancing.
Okay, cool.
Was my thing. Like I saw this video, and I saw these people like, they'd be like put up their hoodie and they would come to the dance floor. It was old school, breaking videos. From we would go and rent these old school videos because we rented videos back in the day. And I would just sit there and watch and be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. They're like spinning around and they're doing all this crazy shit. And I would just try it, I would just try. And I was in gymnastics at the time, as a kid. Like I used to, already be in like that sport or whatever. So my mom put me in because she wanted a girl. Not that girls only can do gymnastics, but I mean, when I was a kid, like 4 years old, like my mom had me in like these tumbling classes or whatever. She would take me over there. And because I had a lot of energy as a kid. And so like I learned how to do flips and backflips and like all this crazy shit. Yeah. And so, I was like, I naturally kind of got into breakdancing,
What year was this, like around what time?
So this was like in the 90s, in the mid 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was the second generation of hip hop culture, like the real hip hop culture. So you have like the 4 elements of hip hop, which would be breakdancing, like graffiti, DJing and MCing. Like those are like the core 4.
And the fashion a little bit, you think too?
Streetwear was still not really people in terms of like streetwear back then. It was still evolving. Like they were still wearing like sports teams,
the jerseys.
Yeah, it was really like kind of like that. Like the counterculture streetwear fashion, like back then, is actually really similar to what's out today.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
It's being recycled like currently, but you wore a lot of Adidas, Puma. They were big like box brand, store bought items, but you could find some cool stuff at the thrift store even back then. But we would try to put our own fits together, even as a crew. We had a breakdancing crew or whatever.
Cool.
And that kind of led into we were breakdancing at a park. We would train every day. I was kind of like, maybe I wasn't like the official like leader of a group or whatever, but I was definitely a person kind of like always tried to bring people together and organize people, and I would hold practices, because like we would train, and then we would go out and go and battle people.
Yeah.
Like, battling was a big deal,
That's crazy.
Back in the day. So like you would have like the North Side versus South Side, battles. And one day when I was at the park, I met this guy. His name was P-Rock, and I think that was the point that was like turned me on to graffiti art. He's from Chicago. He had just moved down. His family opened up these they would call them like head shops or whatever, but really it was like a graffiti store. You can go and buy your spray paint kegs, black books, like pens, markers, and stuff like that. And so I saw him over there, like he was at the park, like right where we would breakdance. Like we breakdance. I was like under this pavilion, and I saw him, and I was like, he was drawn in this black book. He kind of looked like he was hip hop. I was like, he had on a jersey, some baggy pants, the swag that he had on. I was like, this dude's not a skate, because there would be skateboarders there too. So you either skated or you did breakdancing, and that was it. Like, so for this guy to be there in the pavilion, I was like, he kind of caught my attention. I was like, what is this guy doing? I'm gonna go talk to him, see what's up. And every now and again, he would stand up and he would start like pop locking, because we would put the music on. But he was kind of like a loner. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I knew that he didn't know anybody there, and I was like, yo, what's up, man? Like, I see you pop locking. No. He started to break down. Back then he used to call it like dropping science. It was like kind of like educating me. He was a little bit older than me, and he was like, no, man, this is what we do up north. We do this thing like pop locking. Which we had a couple pop lockers here, or whatever. But the way that his style was definitely not, something that you would traditionally see in the South. It was the way that he kind of, he probably referenced, northern kind of hip hop, pop locking styles. But
so that kind of stood out to you.
So I was like, yo, this guy's pretty good. Maybe we can be in the crew. He can be in our crew or whatever, because we had like a pop locking person like in our crew, but he didn't have the swag that this dude had. Like he had he had a little bit of flavor, to his moves or whatever. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. Let me introduce you to the crew. So I introduced him to the crew. And then I saw him like drawing in a book. I'm like, yo, well, what's up? Well, what's this, dude? This is crazy. Like, what are you drawing in here? Because he had like, a black book with some markers. They're called Prismacolors. And so he would draw it, and he had like these paint markers too. And I was like, damn, whoa, bro, this is crazy. He goes, oh yeah, this is called Wild Style. And I was like, Wild Style? Like my brain just like exploded, you know? And I was like, oh my, this is for me. This is for me. Like I saw that book, and I saw like his whole swag, and it came from up north or whatever. And I just thought like, damn, this is like my idea of like what I think I could be, you know, in the future, you know, like I need this guy to teach me.
Okay.
And back then, like, you know, you really learn stuff from older people. Like I feel like a lot of the younger people today, they're almost like, I don't want to sound too old, but you know, they're a little almost disrespectful to the older folks that have been in the game for a long time, just because of the attitude and the personality that people have. Not to say that there aren't folks out there that are very respectful to, you know, to the older folks, but yeah, I feel like the younger generation definitely gets their information from like online.
Yeah.
You know, it's not very personal. You don't have to build a relationship or whatever. But here with this guy's like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, see what I can do to learn as much as I possibly can, because he clearly knows more about this hip hop culture, you know, on the other side of breakdancing. Because at that point in time, I don't even think I realized like breakdancing was a part of something that was much bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was like Zulu Nation and all these other organizations that were out that kind of like educate the youth of what hip hop culture was. And so like he was kind of an old school person that kind of taught me, and you know, I learned from him like, hey, this is how you do a single stroke. This is called a throw up. This is called bomb in letters. This is, you know, and I was like, oh man, this is so dope. Like, and I just started getting it, and I feel like he was, you know, if it wasn't for him, you know, I may not have ever gotten into artwork, or maybe gotten into it much later.
Yeah.
You know, so when I go back and I think about it, like that was a very crucial time period, because he was there and like, man, nah, you're really good, bro. Like he would hype me up. He'd be like, dude, like you got this before I got it. You know, like you're doing these fades before I started doing these fades. You're doing this. You got can control. Back then it was called can control, because you would get these cheap ass, you know, spray paint cans. Now they have like spray paint that is meant for artists, like where the nozzle and the pressure of it and how hard you have to push for the paint to come out, and the consistency of that paint varies between different caps and different types of spray paint. Like it's just so crazy, like the technology today. But back then, you know, you had like Krylon, Rust-Oleum, you know, Painter's Touch, like some cheap shit. And so like this shit was meant to paint like, you know, furniture, you know, shit at your house. This is not to be like, so you look at some of the old school graffiti, it looks like shit, but that's really good for that time period. You know what I'm saying? As it evolved, you know, you start to see more realism and more in-depth type of pieces. But yeah, so can control was, you know, how steady your hand was, you know, and how clean those lines would come out as you were painting. And so I was always the type of artist that would just, I would draw in a book, like to practice, you know, my stuff, but I wouldn't draw a piece in my book and then go paint that piece on a wall. I would normally just paint whatever came to my head, like on the wall, like at that particular point in time. So, but yeah, that's how I kind of.
I feel like what you said, it kind of bringing it back to like finding, like, I guess you could say like that mentor.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a huge underrated thing, like finding somebody who's a mentor. Because honestly, like you had the courage to go up to him, right, and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Yo,
can
what
you
is it? I've never
me?
seen this before.
Because he wasn't gonna come up to you, you know. So it's like you kind of had like, I guess you could say like that curiosity to learn from somebody older than you, you know. And I feel like that's a very wise thing to do, because it's like it's the best way to learn from somebody who's experienced, right. So if you think like finding a mentor is like really important.
Yes and no. You know, I do think that it's important to, I guess, like in your early days, to maybe build a foundation. But I feel like we're so like back then is different than today, and I mean that in the sense of like there's so much information like being shared, like, you know, at the touch of your fingertips with your phone and your, you know, just whatever. You can get whatever knowledge that you need. So I feel like in some senses, like with some people could like maybe create analysis paralysis, where you have too much information. Like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to do it this way or that way. But really, it's like what works for you. You know what I'm saying? So like a mentorship, like quote unquote, like, you know, I would say, has to be taken with a grain of salt today, because everybody's so unique and so different, and the market is like a wave, you know, so things change so quickly that what worked for you may not work for me. You see what I'm saying? But I can give you the information, and you can kind of use that, you know, to your own ability. But I feel like people get so much information right now. They're like getting bombarded with it. They're like, okay, well, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to get a watch or a ring or you know, and now I got my this, and so now I'm this person, you know, just because they're seeing, or they, you know, that's what they're seeing. But really, you got to kind of, you know, have a clear mind about it in the creative on the creative side of business, I feel like there's two different ways. There's a business approach, and then there's a creative business approach, which is really difficult for creative people to do. Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, something that may work for you may not work for somebody else.
Yeah, so may not work for somebody else. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. So I guess like forwarding a little bit of time, like from the 90s going up to like, let's say like the early 2000s, 2010s, like during that time, I guess, let's say throughout the 2010s, did you have in mind that you wanted to create a brand, or like what was your like? Your
so that's a great question. Yeah, I used to paint. So because of my background, in painting graffiti and breakdance and stuff like that, I used to paint like large scale murals for like schools and churches and nonprofit organizations like the Salvation Army and stuff like that. So like if they were redoing their stadium or basketball, arena or whatever, we'd go in and draw a sketch out, and then we'd go and put it on the wall, or whatever. So I did that independently for several years. I didn't see myself getting old, doing that. Now, graffiti art is so socially acceptable, like it's everywhere, But back then was not socially acceptable at all. It was still considered like gang activity, for the most part. So trying to get out of that negative stigma and push it towards a more commercial thing was like pretty difficult in that time period. I think it was like slowly starting to come around. Like the people that we went to high school with graduated from college and then started to get entry level jobs and positions at places, and was like, oh no, that's not illegal. That's graffiti.
It's art.
But yeah, that's art. But when I was doing it, we definitely got harassed by the police. Several times. They took pictures of me in the gang task force. Like they probably still have my photo in the book of gang members.
That's crazy.
Affiliated gang members. Yeah, they thought I was in a gang. They really thought I was in a gang. So every time they pulled us over, it was like, get out of the car. They would drag us out of the car. They would throw us on the ground. They didn't have any cameras, so they really treated us like shit, for the most part. And then we were kind of like the counterculture misfits of the school. You know what I'm saying? So we were already kind of on the fringes of what we were supposed to be doing anyway. What they wanted us to do as a kid. They have these certain expectations for us, and we were like, okay, cool, we'll do a little bit of that, but mostly we'll be doing this, like breakdancing and graffiti.
Doing your own
thing. They
thing.
did not want us to do graffiti at all. So anytime any graffiti would go around the school, somebody would write their name on a wall or something like that. They'd bring me into the office. Hey, was this you? Did you do this? They search my bag, grab my books, or write, a writer or black books or whatever, and go and look at them. And I was like, I was in school suspension because of, for the most part, like almost all of my high school, because just being in trouble with that, just being affiliated with graffiti in that time period was, you were already labeled as this. So getting out of that situation, I actually it's kind of funny because things kind of went full circle. I actually went to school for, I went to college a little bit for like a semester, then dropped out, actually for art and import-export, It's just kind of crazy, because like it was like, oh wow, if I could have just read with a crystal ball, but at that point in time, it just seemed like school was just too slow for me, and then I ended up going out and then started commissioning my own jobs because I knew I could get paid, more than what anybody would at a real job, even post college at that point in time, just on 1 or 2 gigs like a month, and then I wouldn't have to work so hard between that time period and the next time period. I would just it really wasn't like a business,
But you're doing what you love.
But I was doing what I could, and making money doing it, and then doing it like on my own schedule. So I did that for many years, and then I eventually went into helping people do marketing, because to design something or develop a package for something, or even to design something that's going to go on a wall for a business commercially. Or a school or a nonprofit organization, it was like kind of like that same, thing. So people would ask me like, hey, can you help me? I'm opening up this business. Like, can you help me, design, this or that? I got, this coming up and I want to, make this for this. Can you help me design it? And I was already designing stuff on a computer like in the early 2000s. Like I picked up this program called Freehand. It was like, there was Paint and then the really shitty program. And then there was Freehand, and Freehand was like this macro media program,
Kind of like Photoshop, maybe.
Kind of like an early Photoshop,
Okay.
like an early Corel Draw, kind of like more like an early Corel Draw, and I would just design all my stuff in there. Like I would draw out little logos and graphics and stuff like that, and I would take a picture of it and I would put it in that program and then redraw it, and it took forever, to redo it. But yeah, I started to do that like often because I would have to sketch out these drawings and then I'd have to make them, as a mural to put on a wall, basically. And then I would showcase that or show it and then sell a job like that pretty much. So naturally that went over to, hey, I got this business, etc. And so, yeah, I started to do that in between my painting gigs. And then eventually I was like, man, I don't really want to like climb up and down a ladder. Like I didn't see myself getting old, like, and no offense to anybody who currently paints and stuff like, actually people that paint now today in 2023, 2024, they get paid. They're getting paid.
Yeah, for sure.
Like tens and thousands of dollars. Like my friend that used to do graffiti with, he just got like a $120,000 check for like one mural.
Crazy.
Yeah, for one piece. Yeah. Like back then, like maybe like 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000. You do 2 of those a month. You're making more money than any other person your age. And that.
Exactly.
So yeah, that had gone up in price significantly, but yeah, so that's what, I got to hear everybody's idea of what they would think they wanted to do to bring attention to their business, and I listened to that for a decade or more. Yeah.
And during that time, like, you were kind of already knowing, like, maybe this art style will perform better for your business, and like maybe they would want something specific, but like that's when you said the marketing comes in. You're like, I get that you like this, but I'm the expert. I think you should do this instead. Like,
well, yeah, it didn't get there at first because I definitely had to kind of, after I think after years of doing something, like if you come up to me and 20 other people come up to me, they're like telling me, say we take a pool of 20 people, right? So you and 19 other people come up to me and say, hey, I've got an idea. I've got this event coming up. I'm going to make this event look like this. And this other person goes, hey, I'm having a grand opening and I want to make my business look like this. And the next person goes, hey, I'm having a promo at my store, where it's buy one, get one, or whatever the case may be. I'm trying to bring more customers in on a Tuesday because Tuesdays are slow. Right. So each person down the line, think about that in different scenarios, would tell me their concept and the reason why they needed my services to help them, draw something out. You need a creative person to help you visually communicate your idea and your concept so that you can tell your audience what you're trying to do to enhance your business, right? Either through sales or to have like some cohesive, authentic look to yourself or to your business, right? So that when you drive down the street, your business stands out in comparison to other people's businesses that are in similar, if it's a restaurant or et cetera, or a tattoo room or whatever the case may be, right? You want your business to stand out. So imagine hearing that times 20. And then I realize that for you, your idea didn't work. For the next person, their idea did work, but it needed to be tweaked just a little bit. And the next person idea worked really great and could have worked even better if they would have just done this. And I'm taking and I'm putting together what worked and what didn't work just based on the information that I'm receiving. And that's just on 20 people that I would work with as clients. I had thousands of people, you know what I'm saying? Over how many years, you know what I'm saying? Like over 10, over 10 plus years, over, probably over 12 years, maybe more. This year, 2007.
Over a decade. That's a long time.
Over a decade. Yeah, because I did this, I guess you would call it like freelancing.
Pretty much.
And then once I started to figure out like, oh wow, I can make a business out of this, I started to buy equipment. So I really started from the bottom, just like, okay, you give me like $500. This other person gave me $3,000. This other person gave me $4,000. And past the point of me just taking care of my own personal means and like my own personal expenses, like I was like, okay, I can save up a little bit more and I can start buying like equipment because I'm outsourcing all of this stuff to somebody else who is making money. So if you needed a sign or you needed a banner, or you needed something printed, or you needed whatever you wanted, like I would then take the money that I would make from my projects, and then I started to go and buy like small equipment, basically. And so I graduated out of each step, and I started buying bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger equipment as, you know, the years went by, as my clients grew, and as I kind of got more of an inside knowledge. And then, yeah, towards the end, you know, was the beginning of I guess you would call it like the influencer, content creator, like phase of, you know, of the world, or state of the world, where people were being recognized. And very, you know, you used to have to come to the city, you know, start a business inside the city. You know, if you wanted to start something outside the city limits, you probably weren't going to make that much money. You could service some customers, you know, prices are going to be a little bit more competitive than people that are in that market. But if you come inside the city, I noticed that you would get a little bit more money, you know, for that. Well, you know, as soon as, you know, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you know, all of these other Snapchat and all this other stuff, you know, started to be more relevant. You could live in a rural or outside the city limits type area and be very famous or known. The problem was that they were not able to like figure out how to make money off of their audience.
Right, like
and it's at that
monetizing,
beginning phase, you know, where I was working with all these different small businesses and even larger businesses. And then I got really focused on like the internet, like, and how, you know, these people were becoming very famous and just not having like a revenue stream. And I was like, and they would come to me, they'd be like, hey, you know, check out my account. I got like, you know, 400,000 followers. I'd be like, how? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just interested, you know, I've been dealing with the old school, you know, of course I'm on social media as well, but like, you know, these people were like, you know, 20, you know, 22, 19. This one kid was 16 with like 800,000 followers for dance, like just dancing. Like just, I was like, damn, if that was around when I was younger, like, I don't know, you know, like I'm doing graffiti. I thought I was doing something cool when I was young, you know, maybe if I would have filmed myself, who knows, you know, where I'd be.
Right.
But me and my friends that grew up at the same time, we joke about that. Like, man, I wonder if we would have been famous. Like, probably not, you know? But yeah, it was interesting to me. Like, it was intriguing to me that you could get really famous, have all these followers, and still not be, you know, still not have like a nice revenue stream. Like some people might pay you to post something or do something. It was very early days. And I think they started doing like, you know, they would make money like on YouTube, you know, YouTube started paying people.
Through the ad revenue and all that.
Through the ad revenue. I started running my own ads, like at that time period for other people. Like other people, of course, like would come to me and be like, hey, I'm doing this. And I would go and just figure it out with them, you know, like in the very early days. And we would start doing pay-per-click ads. But yeah, it was always, you know, trying to figure out how to get attention, you know, back to my middle child syndrome. And, you know, like A/B testing. Like I feel like my whole entire adult life, I've been A/B testing, like figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and not really getting married to like any really one particular idea. That's why I'm saying, you know, maybe a mentor is good, but if the person has the right type of personality to understand not to take what that person's saying like as the word of God, you know, like this is written in stone, you must do it this way. Like it is.
That makes sense.
Know, because the market changes so fast, attention changes so quickly that
definitely.
You know, what was cool yesterday may not be cool today. You know,
and we see that all the time on social media.
Yeah, the trends are just so quick. Like, you know, everybody's doing this TikTok dance, and the next day somebody's doing the next. You know.
So you said like all these influencers and all these like early day influencers, they would come to you and be like, how can I make money? Like, what would you offer them, like, so that they can start making money? So, you know,
because I was in branding, they would come to me because they wanted to start like a brand. You know. And I really wasn't familiar with, I guess, leveraging their following, like their attention, and trading that attention for like a product because it's challenging. Like that is challenging because you don't want to come across as desperate, right? You're not a business. You're just entertaining. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that balance between let me be authentic to myself and to my audience, but let me try to ask for, you know, hey, purchase this item is almost like, it is such a fine line. It is such a
almost like a sellout, I guess.
It's not a sellout. It's more like I think people don't want to think that you're desperate for their money. I guess that's the best way to put it, because if you're an entertainer and you got hundreds of thousands of followers, why do you need my money? At that particular point in time. So the product that you have has to make so much sense to that audience, right? Because it's got to be real and it's got to be authentic. It's got to be priced right, and it's just got to make sense. It's got to click. So the right product at the right price at the right time, that sort of a situation. Yeah. So I started to test it out, because they were like, okay, yeah, I want to come up with shirts. And, at this time, they started doing like print on demand. Like this is in the very beginning days of print on demand. Like now it's so common, like print on demand. Like, oh, okay, you can go and set up a website. You can go put a shirt that you never made, put it online as it lives in the digital world. And you can go and purchase that. And that person, that creator, content creator, wouldn't have to purchase that item. You can spend $800 or $1,000 or $2,000 or however much money on it, and they can still make a sale. But the problem is again, like, does that fall deaf on the audience's ears? Yeah. And is that just too much? You know what I'm saying? You're doing it, the next person is doing it. It's a little oversaturated, and it's not authentic. Right. It's not authentic. It's not believable. It's not like, how long did you spend on this? It looks like you spent 5 minutes, right. Or 10 minutes. You just slapped something together. You didn't think about it. You're just trying to make a buck. And so yeah, just trying to figure out like A/B tests, like, and I'll give you an example. Like there's a kid that had like, I think 600,000 followers. We put together some merchandising package for him, just to kind of test it out. Like I just did it like for free, to see what it would do. And he couldn't sell like 2 shirts, like not 2 shirts, like you don't have a mom or a dad or a cousin or a brother or a sister that will support you, like to purchase this, like to even test it out to see if it works. Yeah. And so I learned that it doesn't matter your followers. It is helpful, but it doesn't matter how many followers you have. It matters how you emotionally connect, to the audience, to your target audience, whatever your target audience is. And then specifically be like very narrow in your scope of how you approach your target audience. Basically, I think what separates people that make the sales in terms in that category. Right. When it comes to content creators. Yeah. And then later, I think like people started to get brand deals and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Now they got online selling and. Yeah,
it's like it's super common. Everybody has merch. Yeah,
everybody's got merch, and so which brings me to, Hyde Park. It's like, how do you separate yourself? Yeah. In any business, you're always going to ask yourself that, and if you're not asking yourself that question, then you should be.
You need to be asking yourself.
Yeah, you need to be asking yourself that question.
Yeah, because nowadays I feel like a lot of like streetwear brands, it's like. You see the same stuff over and over, like design style, same blank, same like literally the format is all the same, and even similar names, So it's like nowadays I feel like it's pretty hard to stand out.
It's the information age. Everybody's sharing this information. Here's how I did it. Here. Yeah. Now you go do it. So it's like, and they're literally doing the exact same
duplicating
thing.
The same thing.
Oh, okay, I got to go to this website. I got to go get this artist, and I got to go that art. And these designers, quote unquote, like even me, like, do I consider myself like a real true designer? Like at as many years as I've been designing, like I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning and I'm growing. And you've got these people that will put like design. Or STD or studio at the end of their Instagram handle. Right. And now all of a sudden they're designers. I promise you what they're doing is they're getting design packs, okay? You can go and buy a design pack. I hope you know that. And then all they're doing is just changing the elements in Photoshop that was already pre-developed. Right. It's that's why all the stuff is looking the same. So if you're trying to make a fast move, like, okay, let me go and get me 100 shirts real quick and go to this website here because that's what so-and-so told me to do and switch it up. Yeah, Yeah, it's like the designer package is what you would call it, like the stereotypical.
Yeah. So going into 2024, right? Because we're still in 2023, a couple months left. How do you stand out, like as being a brand of this day and age? Like how can you actually become like, get to the next level? Like,
so I think that for different people, again, it's different, and I think that can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself,
of course,
and I can tell you like what works from, or what I do. Maybe not even necessarily what works for me, because that could be argued, but I think it goes back to your story, right? My story as Hyde Park, who I am, right? Because if I'm real and true and authentic to myself, like I'm really a designer person, I'm really a creative person, I really create things every single day. I did it when I was broke. I did it and got in trouble for it. You know what I'm saying? And nothing has ever changed. I'm still designing today. Nothing has changed. I'm still a designer. I'm not doing it, obviously, not doing it for the money. It's something I'm very passionate and I enjoy doing. So I think that having an authentic story, I think people can see straight through the buying a design pack online,
right?
Getting the blank that everybody else got because you're trying to flip $800 or $2,000 or $4,000. I think people can see right through that. So I'd say, try a different way. Don't do it. Try it a different way. Try it a different way. Try to be as real and as true and as authentic as you possibly can. That would be number one. Number one, to be authentic and to be real. And the second thing I think is that people miss the point that you have a target audience. And if your target audience is the same as everybody's target audience, then what percentage of the pie are you going to get? So I think people make a mistake there as well. So for me, I focus on my core audience and I obsess over it every single day. I think about it and I think about who they are, what they do, what they enjoy. I go and hang out. I chill. In my target audience. Demographic. Which mine is 18 to 24. And I get to really immerse myself and look at it. At many years that I've been doing this, I've always had to look at it from the perspective of the customer, because the customer has to win. The customer is the hero in your story, not you. And so a lot of people will go into business wanting to be their own hero because they think it's cool, or because they think that it'll help their self-image. And we live in a society currently where everybody's just so focused on their self-image, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's a very important part of modern day marketing and branding and separating yourself from everybody else. But I would say the hero is the customer, not you, not me. I'm not the hero. I didn't become victorious, for self-interested reasons. I became arguably successful because other people believed in me and supported me. You see what I'm saying? So they're the hero, No. So how do you make your customer win? Do people focus on that?
No.
Could that be focused on a little bit more? Can you open that up and dive into that and dissect, how does my customer win? How does my customer win? Because if you're not thinking about that, I guarantee you I am. I promise you. I'm obsessed. So you're competing with other people like me, and that's my third point, that in 2024 you're competing with everybody. Whether you want to be cool and high five people or be people's friends, you could be people's friends. Basketball players and football players and professional athletes, and they all high five each other after the event, but they're on the court. They're competing with each other,
right?
And there's nothing different here. In any business, if you're making a clothing brand and I'm making a clothing brand, I'm competing with you.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you're doing that works, and I want to know. Remember my analysis of I have 20 customers and I saw what you did and I saw what you did and I saw what you did and I saw all the way down the line, 20 people, imagine 1,000 people. Then I said, I'm going to take this information and I'm going to develop my own brand. Okay. Based on what I saw they did right and what I saw that they did wrong. Okay. And I'm going to develop my own brand. Not to be my own, not to feed my own ego.
Right.
You know, I don't want to feed my own ego. I don't want to. I'm a creative person. I want to create something. Going back to middle child syndrome, I want to create something that is recognizable, that gets attention, you know, and that people enjoy. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, I think 2024 is not unlike every other year. I want to delight my audience and my customers and the people who see my pieces, like in public or, on other people. And how do they feel exactly? Because connecting emotionally is very, very important. And to use something that is commonly used or commonly done may not make a person feel very special.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you definitely want the person to feel like they have won and found something very special that they want to be a part of, And so I think that competition is really important. I think another thing that's important is telling a story through merchandise. I think that's going to be, or is very important. I think that if you can tell a story through, if you can storytell through merchandise.
What do you mean by that? Like, what does that mean exactly? Like you mean by design, or like you just?
Yeah. It could be like this, for example. Where does this live? And maybe over here, it looks, maybe even outside of this package, it's a completely different feeling. Yeah. So when you just have this, this one I designed here, it's a clutch bear, and so when you just have this, and even when you want to, take it down, and maybe he doesn't have the boots, you know what I'm saying? So like, it really needs to make sense, like together as a whole for me. You know what I'm saying? And then you put the boots on, you put this on. Is what color is this? Why did you choose this color? So it's not a pre-pack. This is something that you're developing and you're thinking how other people perceive it to be and where this product lives. So like, where does it live? That is the story that you want to tell, right? You don't want a product just to be there. How much attention are you going to get if this product sits just right here away from all of this and it's just a white table? Yeah. Maybe a little bit, right? Maybe could you get more? Yeah. So you're going to A/B test that and say, okay, well, maybe I put it in a package. And even with the packaging that I currently have it in right now, these were gifts, But, even putting it in this package, I wasn't very happy with how it fit, but I had a certain deadline on this project. Yeah. So I feel like even here, I feel like his head could be a little bit more clearly up, clear, brighter up on top. It's a little too dark for me. So even this gray probably needed to be
a little light.
Yeah, a little lighter. Even making this background yellow to make this pop off. But the gray is definitely too dark for the eyes inside the packaging. Now, if you take it out of the packaging, definitely has a different feel, and vibe to it. So, I think it's that. I think it's where does your product live? How do people perceive it, and where does it live? And that's how you tell that story. So if the story is, for Hyde Park, I feel like, Hyde Park's story is, a lot like my personality. Like, you aren't invited in Hyde Park is, pretty much a reflection of who I am. I'm a creator. I'm a designer, and it's really how I feel. Like, I feel like for 17 years of doing this business, being a creative in this business, I kind of felt like a dairy cow, dairy cow, it gets some suction cups underneath the nipples, and they get pumped, for the milk, and that is their life, And I think for a moment I was happy and content doing it, until I started to realize, like, wait a second, I'm the cow that people are milking, and you're, or not you specifically, but, my customers making a lot of money off of, brainstorming and having ideas, and not that I want to, hold my ideas back, but I realized that I wanted to set some boundaries, and I feel like a lot of creative people feel that way. Feel like they want to set boundaries. So, You Aren't Invited in Hyde Park is like this place where this product lives, where you have boundaries, and you don't have to have everybody in your personal space. Your personal space is your personal space, and I think like Nike says, just do it. Like, it is a timeless, saying. Just do it. It can apply to across generational boundaries. I think You Aren't Invited is very much a statement that can also cross generational boundaries, because especially in modern times where you have this strong pressure to have attention constantly from everywhere. So everybody's got middle child syndrome, I guess, because it's like, well, if you aren't coming up with something, somebody else is, and now they're getting noticed, and that's pretty much like self-branding today, So to step away from it and be like, hey, look, well, I don't care, and it's cool that I don't care. I'm not telling you I don't care because I want to be cool. I actually literally don't care, And so it's like, everything can be taken like, whoa, are you really saying that? Like, I don't know, is this a show? But I feel like in a world where everybody's trying to get so much attention and try to impress other people, that Hyde Park, You Aren't Invited, is kind of like a separation of that, and setting up your own personal boundaries of like, hey, if I made it, I'm successful, and I've already am, or I'm on my own journey. You're on your own journey. This is where I want to be, and you aren't invited, or if you are, you're cool, and everybody else isn't, But I don't want to be pressured or put into a box and labeled as something. And so I feel like a lot of my product kind of lives within that, within that area, and I try to visually communicate that, as time progresses, and tell that story through each capsule, through each product drop or product release. I don't like to just release a product for the sake of just making money, And so having a micro brand and doing things in small volumes is really important to me, because of that reason. Like, I'm here to tell a story and to be creative and to push past my own creative boundaries. And so, I think as a designer and a creative, you're an extension of that you are creating, And so by going and purchasing, a lot of people don't design and develop their own products, they depend on other people. And so I think you kind of lose the soul and the feeling. And that's kind of how I felt creating for other people. Like, I felt like I was becoming soulless. Like, I didn't have a soul. I didn't have a passion. I didn't have I was like, I got to the point where I was like, okay, God, I got to do this customer's job. Here he comes. He's driving a Rolls Royce, or whoever he thinks he is. He's going to come in here and tell me what to do. And I have to be whatever, take his money and do his job, and I just, the dynamic, I felt like it needed to be the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't feel special.
I needed to trade, to trade seats, but that would come at a risk, that would come at a cost.
Right.
And so that answers some of your questions about what can you do, or how do you tell that story? I think that I try to visually communicate that on a regular basis with Hyde Park, You Aren't Invited. Yeah. Like, you can't have my product. I'm making my product, but you can't have it.
That's pretty sick. Like how you said, like, Nike has Just Do It. It is a timeless quote. I feel like You Aren't Invited is pretty timeless too.
Pretty timeless.
So it's like, it's much deeper than what it seems,
right?
And on top of that, it's like, it makes it like exclusive as well.
Right.
I'm saying? It's like people want to be a part of something,
right?
But you aren't invited. So it's like, it kind of.
And I honestly don't care. Like, I honestly don't care if somebody purchases the product or doesn't purchase the product. Like, I really don't care. I don't care.
I feel like that's super important, because it's like, you don't leave yourself vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you really care too much, it's like, you're going to get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I guess so, yeah. And in a business sense, you maybe not your feelings hurt, but your pocketbook might hurt a little bit. Right. You might have spent a little bit too much money over here. Weren't able to recoup it. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like, just definitely, not really unapologetically creating something was definitely where I kind of wanted to shift out of what I was doing. But yeah, definitely.
So like, all right, so what is like, let's say you're giving advice to, I guess, small brand owners. Like how often should somebody be dropping, or like how often should
so
we?
before we even get to dropping,
Yeah.
before we even get to making a product and dropping it, the first, ask yourself 1,000 times why. Why? I want to make this. Okay, cool. You want to make it. Why do you want to be a brand owner? Why? Tell me.
Yeah.
Don't you have a brand?
Yeah. Me? Yeah. Of course
So
I do.
tell me why.
I feel like for my brand, love or die. Like for me, like how you said, like the brand resonates you. For me, love or die resonates me. I feel, because I'm like an all in type of person, and whenever I'm all in, especially when it comes to relationships, it's like I feel like I love super hard, where sometimes I even like become vulnerable because I love too hard, and just growing up the way that I grew up with my parents, like my parents, they would, it was love over everything, what I'm saying? And I guess kind of personally, like my parents, like they were kind of like, it's kind of, I'll just say it, but like my parents, they were doing like illegal stuff when I was growing up. So meaning they would have a lot of money and they would risk it all just to give me whatever I want and just to be together. You know what I'm saying?
Did they try to gamble, or not gamble it, but like try to make it?
Yeah, I guess,
illegal?
Yeah, it was illegal stuff. I don't want to say exactly what, but it was illegal stuff. And they were putting all their chips into that just to kind of be together as a family and provide for each other, And my dad, it was like love over everything. And I really thought like love or die. And that's how I kind of grew up to become that too. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why I feel like I want to put it out there is because I feel like love or die, it's like a way of also like spreading love to the world, where I feel like that's obviously it's a common message, but I'm here right now, and it's like, if I can spread that message as well, like in my own way, it's like, I feel like that'd be awesome. I feel like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just, so I hear that, and that is awesome. Right. But I will tell you,
Yeah.
like if I were to give you advice,
Yeah.
I would say,
Please.
I would say, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Kevin, that is amazing. That is very beautiful. And I think could resonate with people. However, I didn't hear how the customer wins. I didn't hear how that person is a hero. I heard how you are the hero.
Right.
I didn't hear how they're the hero.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Focus on
Customer.
the customer, because the customer needs to win, or else you don't have customers. The customer needs to be like, oh my God, did you see what I just got? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. They need to be very happy about that. So how would you do that?
With my products, like lately, I've been doing a lot of like custom product, like one-of-one pieces. Like I personally,
But for who?
For the customer.
But do you have anybody in mind? Maybe you have one person in mind.
What do you mean by that?
Like maybe pick a customer, like a specific customer.
Okay, like
Yeah, like somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like
an individual,
like a younger crowd, like teenage, like early 20s as well.
I mean, pick a person, an actual person.
What do you mean by that, though?
Okay, so like whenever you're developing, okay, so like, oh yes, okay, here's what I mean by that. Okay, okay, so this is very important. This is very important. Okay, because I feel like this gets lost a lot as well. They don't understand. They, meaning people that want to start a brand, may totally fly over this, or may go over their head, so to speak. If you look at business like have you ever played darts? Okay. You know what a dartboard looks like?
Of course.
You have like a ring, then you have an inner ring, then you have another ring, then you have another one, maybe a really small little bitty thing in the middle with a red dot. The bullseye? That's that right there. So that is your customer. Okay? Your ideal customer. That is your customer base. And I feel like, for famous for content creators, it's pretty easy for them. Well, it's easy and it's not for them to figure out who their target audience is, because do they have a target audience? Yes. Do they support them, or watch their videos and content, engage, etc.? Yes. Will they purchase something from you? That's a whole nother question, right? Right. And if they do purchase, how much will they purchase from you? What is the average amount of money that they will spend et cetera, because, business costs money to operate. So if you think about it like that, you'll say, I'm not just making anything for custom one-of-ones for whoever walks up to my table, because I think there would be better use of time, okay? And by better use of time, I mean, strategically, you could say, you are my customer. You, meaning you 5 people, start with just a few people, and make something super dope that they truly enjoy. Remember, they win, right? So then trying to duplicate that process out. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't want to get stuck making one-of-ones. Maybe you can make some money doing one-of-ones. Couture is a thing, but they charge like $45,000 for a, custom, jacket or something like that, or $20,000 by a designer. That's common. It's okay. It's accepted in the marketplace. But you want to kind of A/B test and who is my customer? I'm going to go to do a test, and I'm going to test my product, and I'm going to curate something for this person, specifically this person. That is your target audience. Now, can you duplicate that avatar? Okay, meaning, can you put them inside of this red bullseye in the center? And if so, how many people like that exist in your region or your physical location, maybe 100 miles out? Okay, that is your target audience, like right there. That customer, that age, how much money do they make? What type of music do they listen to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? Because that'll tell you what to price your product at. Right.
So let's say I find my refined customer, right? Because I feel like I need to do homework with that. How do I reach to those specific people? How do I reach out to them? How do I create the product? Find my refined customer. How can I get my product to them?
So they call it like it would be called like a if somebody's coming out with a new candy or bubble gum, they will literally go to like a store or to a mall, and they'll have somebody will go in and be like, hey, would you like to try the new Wonka Tonka Kalanka chocolate bar? And you're like, oh, I kind of like chocolate. Maybe I'll try it. This sounds kind of weird, but the packaging looks cool, but it really doesn't. Who's this sketchy lady or man? Okay, let's go try it, And then they'll do a case study, to try to figure out how many people, what was your age, right? What did you like or not like about the product? Okay? Why didn't you like this product? And are you so married to your product that you're unwilling to change that? And a lot of people are. Like, I promise you, I've been doing it for many years.
Definitely.
So many people get caught in the phase of like, no, this is going to work. And they're so, in their mind, it works for them. But they don't understand that they're, again, like, you don't make any money if you don't sell the product, and your business will cease to exist if you don't have funds to operate, So yeah, trying to figure out what it is, did I like the packaging, but I don't like that this word is written with this font. It just seems like it doesn't reflect the candy bar. And I get that information from you, a person who is unbiased, isn't a yes man, you're not trying to hype me up, and you just gave me real information. Then I give it to the next person, and I give it to the next person, and say 60 or 70% of the feedback is like this first person's feedback. Let me go back and let me modify this piece to make it, a little bit better and fix the thing. And I'm going to go back out and test the product. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Okay. I'm getting a better feedback here, getting maybe 40% of people think something else needs to be tweaked, And as I go through and tweak these things and make this product better, I'm separating myself in the marketplace, right? I'm fine-tuning this product. Think about sitting in your car. You have a blinking light. You've got the volume. You've got the bass and treble that you can kind of put on for some music. You got windows that you can roll up and down. You've got seat warmers, etc. Whatever your car comes with. Windshield wipers. And say if you were to just turn down the music just a little bit. Say you were to, drive 5 miles slower. Say you were to recline your chair a little bit further back and lift your chair up, how would your performance, how would you do as, performance? If you had to, imagine you had like a bowl of soup next to you and you couldn't spill the soup, So that's what it is to create and to define your audience in your product. You're constantly thinking about how could you improve this product, not just to be cool or just to be self ego driven, but you're doing it to delight your customer. Because when the person gets done in the chocolate bar scenario, eating the chocolate bar, they should feel like they may have rewarded themselves for maybe eating healthy for 30 days. Maybe that's my customer, right? Maybe my customer is hardworking and they exercise, and this is their treat to themselves as my chocolate bar company. You know what I'm saying? So I want that chocolate bar to be, I want it to be guilt-free. I want them to think that they made the right decision when they purchased my chocolate bar, right? So if you think about it in terms of the customer experience, how it's perceived, right? If the person that you're targeting could even have the funds to purchase the product, because if you could purchase, you can have the greatest chocolate bar in the world, and maybe you charge $100 for it. Maybe most people couldn't afford it. Maybe some people could, but most people couldn't afford it. Then maybe you priced yourself outside of that market. So we say, okay, I'm doing one-of-ones. Well, how much will one-of-ones cost? They're a little bit costly, So maybe one-of-ones could be one part of your business, definitely not 100% of your business. Right. And then how are you selling these one-of-ones, and what type of feedback have you gotten from it, right? Because you're constantly receiving feedback from it. So, which brings me back to the point of what you were saying, in mentorship, you can gather your own information and determine what your next steps could be. If you look at and listen to what the market is actually saying. The market is the person that you're showcasing your product to. Right? What are they saying? Are they liking? Are they engaging? Why not? Why not?
So really putting myself out there, doing actual research, market research.
Yeah, when you're doing if you have your product on a table in a public place, you're doing market research, whether you think you are or not.
So I feel like for my one-of-one pieces, I've been getting a lot of great feedback. People have been loving it. Maybe it's not crazy expensive, but I guess for my audience, it is a little bit higher, because it's like $200 for a jacket or so. It's just not what my audience is used to. But people are definitely like giving me great feedback on that. But I feel like pricing is a something really big that I need to test, because even with my, I guess you could say, like general release products, like stuff that I have inventory of, for example, hats and t-shirts, I do have that at a little bit higher price. So I have to test that a lot, because I have seen that people would rather buy a $40 shirt compared to a $100 shirt. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's in my market.
So I would say to consider, where are you selling that?
Yeah.
Where are you selling that?
Yeah. So lately I go to like markets, and
okay. So think about a market and think about business. So I want you to think about there's this thing in business called barrier to entry. Okay, a barrier to entry is like a door. So think about a barrier to entry. If I had a door made out of paper, how easy would it be to get into that door? Right, pretty easy. Yeah. If I had a door made out of plywood, it'd be a little bit more difficult. If I had a door made out of steel, it'd be very difficult, with the proper locks and etc. To get through that door. So when you think about a market, or when I think or analyze a market, what I'm thinking of is, well, how easy is it to get into the market? And how much does it cost to get into the market?
It's like average $150.
Okay. So how many people have $150 to go and get access to sell the product at a market?
Yeah, a lot.
Would you say a lot?
Yeah, of course.
So you're thinking about in business, that would not be a great business decision. Do you understand why?
Yeah.
Because the barrier to entry is what? Too
easy.
Too low. Too easy. Right? So you don't want to be there. Why? Because you're competing with people that didn't have to put in a whole lot of effort to be there. And you're putting in a lot of effort by creating these one-of-ones. But your audience and the people you're competing, remember competition, you're competing. Your audience and the people that you're competing with is not doing it like that, No. They're going to a thrift store, buying a something they bought at a thrift store and trying to sell it for 2 or 3 times what they paid for, maybe in some cases much more.
Yeah.
But still, how much effort did they actually put in to do it? Not to belittle their, because it does take time and effort to go and hunt these things down or whatever, et cetera. But equivalently, if you compare apples to apples, you're putting a significant amount of time and effort, thought into making a one-of-one piece that you're trying to sell for, or that you're selling. You're trying, but maybe you're selling for $200, and they may really like it and appreciate it, but
they can't afford it.
They can't afford it, right? So you miss your target. Before you even get a chance to throw the dart, you already don't even have a dartboard to throw. You see what I'm saying? You don't have the right dartboard is not in front of you with the target. The red target is gone. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So understand your customer. Where is your customer? Does your customer shop at markets?
Probably not.
Probably not, right? Because if they did, you'd be making, I don't know how much you're making, but you'd be making a lot of money, or getting a lot of attention if your customer was there. It'd be like Gucci trying to sell product at a thrift or at a flea market. People would be like, "That's real Gucci? Is that fake or real? Like, what are you doing here? Like, why is this $800 and I can buy a fake Gucci shirt over there for $50? Like, why am I going to buy this? Because it's not even the same customer. The person who buys the fake Gucci maybe wants the look, but they don't want to spend the price that it really costs to buy the Gucci. Doesn't mean they don't like Gucci, right? Right. So same thing with you, right? It's they may really enjoy and like the product, but they're not going to buy it, So I would say my first advice is to try to get into the barrier to entry needs to be very difficult, because you don't want that type of competition. You want to compete with people, that you think that you can compete with. It'd be like an NBA team going to go play a high school team. You know what I'm saying? Like the barrier to entry was like, hey, you just got to show up, put on your sneakers, or go do a pickup game at the YMCA, NBA players, like they're going to dominate this, all you had to do was go a little this, you had to go to your training session, like, et cetera, right? Like they're competing in the correct, fishing in the right pond.
So I guess I kind of struggle. Of course, I struggle with that aspect. So how would I, am I supposed to collab with stores, higher end stores, or what? How can I position myself in front of that specific market? I guess that's I'm trying to figure out where can I go to reach these people.
So first, you got to find out who these people are.
Right.
So I feel like you don't. You've got an idea, right? But I feel like you really need to
define it,
obsess over that. It's like finding gold or finding oil. As soon as you find that, that is your customer. You can continue to service that customer and provide them with something that fills the market. You should be in business. You should fill a void that you feel is in the market, right? There's a space for me here. Like this didn't exist, and I'm putting this product here so that it lives here now, and other people will start to compete with me, and we'll see who's best, and so I feel like you haven't kind of found or figured that out just yet, So I would say, in order to get the roadmap of where you need to go, the reason why you don't know where you need to go just yet is because you haven't yet figured out who your real customer is, right? How much money do they have? Where do they live? What do they listen to? What do they drive? Really try to figure that out. And you do that by getting the feedback. Once you get that feedback, then you say, okay, I know that my target audience is this, and I know that I can then do my pop-ups here, or do private pop-ups. Like in the very beginning days of Hyde Park, I would not sell my product on a table ever. Never would I ever put up a table at a market and sell my product, just because I didn't want that to be the brand reflection. That was not how I want to visually communicate Hyde Park. Okay. And for a lot of reasons, and I just listed a few, because of barrier to entry, because I feel like that is not my level of expertise. Like I'm out competing all of these people because I have so much inside knowledge, and I'm actually developing the product and making the product myself. I bought all the equipment. These people didn't buy equipment. If they bought equipment, they bought something off of Amazon, for $100 or $200. They got a little button maker. They didn't spend $75,000 or $250,000 on a build out or on on a warehouse.
Yeah.
So for me to try to go in and try to compete with these, younger folks that are out there trying to get it, and no disrespect to them, like with all respect, that's where they are in their journey. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm here, and I need to put my product in a place where I can properly compete, with the right person. So, so I feel like, for yourself, find out who your customer is, and then find out who your competition is from there. Who's targeting that same customer? Mm. Yeah. And you'll start to be able to, the answer will be very obvious from that point of where you need to be. But yeah, I would say the first step is probably don't do, either if you're going to do a market, I would say you got to go a little bit lower, or you got to go much lower on your price point.
Yeah, of course.
I don't even know if you want to do that to your brand.
Yeah.
You got to think about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah,
that's really good.
A collection, how the pieces kind of work together is also an important part about it. Like I think right now we're doing 36 different products, 37 different products on the next product drop. Mm-hmm. And it's how those products kind of live amongst each other for that period. And that's over. Then I start all over again. Mm-hmm. So do you do that? Probably not. These older products that were like younger concepts that you had at an earlier time may not mix with the current style of what you're doing right now.
For sure. For sure. I feel like I am sitting on like older product that I just been sitting on now. So
it may not look good together. You got to take a step back and look at it and be your own like best or worst critic, however you want to put it, but be very critical of yourself and be like, okay, this is cool, but why? Yeah. But why? Mm-hmm. Why is this here? Why did I put this here? Mm-hmm. Obsess about why you wanted this thing put right here next to this other product. And does it make sense? Does it make sense to the person that's walking over here and looking at it? Because they're going to make the decision real quick. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have people also have like a budget in mind of what they want to spend for something. Right. When comparing this to even things that you have on your own table, why would they purchase this versus something else? Yeah. If not, take it off the table. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Also, you're competing with the next person who's standing right next to you, who's selling. What are they selling? Yeah. So if they're selling micheladas, then you probably shouldn't even have your product on. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, no offense, all respect, but why is somebody selling micheladas next to me and my designs? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it almost puts me at like, do I even know where I am? Mm-hmm. Do I even know where my product lives? Because if I did, I would know that Hyde Park, definitely doesn't belong to somebody next to somebody selling micheladas. And I love micheladas. You know what I'm saying? I'll wear Hyde Park and drink micheladas, Mm-hmm. But I don't want to buy my Hyde Park next to somebody who's selling micheladas, for the most part. Yeah. Maybe somebody might do it, but not likely.
That makes sense.
Right? Yeah. So and what's on the other side? Somebody selling gummies? I don't know what they're selling these days. You know what I'm saying? Crystals? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then you're really, did you want to buy crystals and candles and then come and see Hyde Park? Like 99.9% sure the customer who is buying crystals and candles are nice, probably isn't then shopping for Hyde Park. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like a television that keeps turning channels as you're walking through the market. You're like, oh shit, what is this? And everybody's trying to sell you something because they're all trying to hustle. Come. They're all coming up together. Mm-hmm. So, and I like candles. I got candles. But that's not what I'm in the mood for. And so when you're creating a brand, you want somebody to live in this space, in this environment that you've created. What is your world? The love and die world where it's all or nothing. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Can you really visually communicate that at a market? No, probably not. Definitely not. Yeah, definitely not. So it would bring me to that's where I kind of got to that point and was like, I'm going to make my own. And I had a warehouse. So I would make my whole warehouse, this is Hyde Park. Mm-hmm. This is what Hyde Park looks like. Hyde Park is cannabis friendly. Hyde Park is high-end cannabis, not mids. It's like the high-end cannabis. Mm-hmm. Target, my customers love high-end cannabis. That's just what they like, okay? And they like exotic things, you know. They like to stand out just a little bit, you know. So I design and develop my product in a way that when you wear it, you're going to stand out just a little bit. You know, people are going to look at you for a little bit longer than what they would look at the next person, because my customer wants that. My customer may be an entertainer, they may be a creative themselves, and when they wear Hyde Park, they don't want to just blend in. You've got your whole crowd of people that like Essentials and, you know, et cetera, all these other brands, right? I'm not them, you know. People are wearing Hyde Park because they want to have a little bit of flair to themselves. They want to stand out just a little bit more. They need a little bit more, you know, attention as they're maybe an entertainer or a celebrity themselves, or maybe even just a creative, and they want to look have a certain type of look and feel to them, and pair a couple of different items with it, right? So I make sure that each one of my items has a little bit of something that is kind of, you know, strange or odd or off about it, a little bit gaudy, over the top in some pieces. In some pieces I do make a little bit more basics, you know, depending to also have that as my customer base as well, because some people don't want to be so loud, right? Yeah. Or on some days you don't want to be so crazy or so wild. You don't want to kind of tone it down. But yeah, so you're thinking about that. You know, my target audience likes the hip hop. I love the hip hop culture. Like I came back to the hip hop culture after you know, just as my roots were of being at the pavilion in the park, and said, hey, I want a hip hop person, because I understand what hip hop is. You know, I'm not pretending, you know, to understand what hip hop is. I lived hip hop culture like as a kid, growing up, you know, in this very important time in your life where you're just kind of understanding the world and how you want to be in the market. You know, I know what it's like to be a part of hip hop culture, so I know that I can communicate to hip hop culture, and I know that other people I'm competing with are not a part of the hip hop culture. Yeah. You know, they're just designers, or they're just people that want to make a product and want to make a quick buck. And I know they're not a part, and never have been a part of the hip hop culture. They could care less if somebody is breakdancing or rapping, or who is the best graffiti artist or MC or DJ, etc. Like, they're not obsessed about that. They were never obsessed about that. They don't care. They see the hip hop market as a dollar sign. Yeah. You know, so I have a competitive advantage. You know, I understand what it is to be a part of hip hop culture. I know what I wanted to wear when I was in my graffiti days and breakdancing. I wanted to stand out. I was a part of a crew. I was a part of a squad. These were my people. This is where we all loaded up in a car, and we would go and breakdance and go battle people together. And how we looked as a unit was like really important. You know, so like it's not unlike how things are happening today in the hip hop culture. I think that hip hop culture has become mainstream, and before it was counterculture. I think those are probably the only differences, and they're all trying to package what everybody commercially thinks hip hop is, you know, today. Yeah. You know, so I feel like maybe it's a little watered down, but then that provides like a space in the market where I feel like there's room for something that is authentic, you know, and I feel like that is Hyde Park. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So what is that for you, right? That's what it is for me. Because I understand it, I know it, I live it, I created, you know, I was there doing it. The other part about it is sneaker culture. Sneaker culture, and you had this really big move for sneaker culture and streetwear culture, because streetwear culture really wasn't, you know, it was like the skater kind of athletic sports team kind of like blend of product that ended up being what streetwear is kind of today. And even streetwear today is still that of the 90s. It's very much like what it was in the 90s. That was me, right? So it's understanding that where do you want your product to live? Where do I want my product to live? What do I know? What do I understand more than anybody else? I know design, I know marketing, I know how people perceive product. I know how the product is made. Like, I spent years developing products for other people, and they made millions of dollars on the ideas and products that I've developed for them, either one way or another. So I understand I'm competing, right? If this is all making sense, maybe it's like, I know that I'm competing. I know that I can do this in this area. I know that the customers are going to be delighted. Like, there's just so many different moving parts about what it is. It's not just getting a design, putting it
on a blank.
Even if it is, but it's not as simple as getting a design, putting it on a blank, and then putting it out and making it for sale. Because what is the barrier to entry, right? How much did it cost you to do that? $800, even $800 is nothing. Right. Did it cost you $2,000? Even $2,000, it's not even scratching the bucket of like touching what actually needs to be done, what actually really needs to be done. And well, how would you know? Well, because I've seen it. Yeah. I've seen people do it so many times over, and I've seen what worked for them, and I saw what didn't work for them. Right? So it needs to be bigger than the money part. It needs to be bigger than the ego part. It needs to be move more towards the customer, and towards the customer. And the product development. What is it that you're creating? Why? I just told you why I'm doing it. I just explained it, laid it out for you. Why?
Right.
And how it's going to work. Because how many times can you put a design on a blank t-shirt and then offer it before people are already tired of that? They're done. How many times can you do it? And you've got how many other people doing it at the same time? Every kid is making their own brands. Every store is making their own brands. Every rapper, every TikToker, every streamer is making their own brand, right?
No.
So how do you separate yourself how do you separate yourself?
Yeah.
What makes you better at it than everybody else? Otherwise, you probably maybe want to reconsider,
That makes sense.
Or maybe you could be a great support person, or, something else about it, studying analytics and studying trends. Like if you can come from a studying analytics and trends thing, like if you can pick up on a trend faster than anybody else can pick up on a trend, you just can't execute, right? You don't have the resources to execute. Okay, I need this type of fabric. I need this many rolls. I need to dye it this color, and I need to cut it, and I need to sew it into this garment. Can you understand a trend and then outsource that to somebody else? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. If that's your thing, right, is understanding the trend. Because again, if you can if you see it as a wave, if you look at businesses like a wave, and if you ever gone surfing, there's a set of waves that will come in, and so you kind of just wait for that set of waves to come in. Could be like 5 minutes or 3 minutes or so, or 10 minutes or whatever the case may be, and soon enough, all of these waves will start coming in. A wave is in this scenario would be like a trend. Yeah. Okay. And the trends are always changing, just like the waves are always changing. And that one trend that you pick to ride, as a wave into the beach, may be too early or maybe too late, and it may be just right on time, right? So how are you at identifying those things? I think you slowly start to dissect that and figure out what makes your approach different. What is the actual value that you're going to provide, right? Because at that point, you're not just going, oh, this is what so-and-so did. So-and-so did this, so I should go and do this, right? So-and-so made a shirt and got a designer on Instagram to go and design this, and then they bought it, and then they put it on a shirt and said, your brand here, and then they put their brand. So I should be able to do that, right? Do you see how elementary of a concept that is? No. And how that almost always will probably lead to not being very successful. Right. That in my opinion would lead to, you would cap out at a certain amount of money. You would never make over X. And I'm not a psychic or whatever, but I'm probably with 100% accuracy, they would probably not make over X amount of dollars. I would already kind of have a number in mind about how much they could possibly make on it. Yeah, you might be able to make a couple bucks on it, but you're probably not going to be able to make more than that on that. How many times? And you've experienced it, you've done it yourself, right? You've got a design, put it on a table. How many did you sell? You know what that number is, and it becomes like a plateau, right? Or like a ceiling for yourself. So a lot of it is pressing past that plateau, past that ceiling. I call it past my own creative boundaries. Like I have my own personal creative, what I think is possible in my own head. Even today and every day. Well, this is something that Jacob would have done. In 2019 or 2020. Why am I still doing that in 2023 or 2024? That the world has changed. 2020, people were throwing money at everybody. 2020 was a great time to be doing anything in business. I guess if you were within, people were spending money like crazy. But what worked in 2020 doesn't work today. Today, we're in a very tight market. People are not spending as much as they were spending in 2020, 2021. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is your business growing? Mine is. I'm growing, But why? How? Wait, you just told me that people were spending more money in 2020 than they are in 2023. That's true. But I've learned to adapt to change. Mm-hmm. So how fast you adapt to change is really important as well. So you got to have all of these skills or think of them as like a toolbox of things that you can kind of go to pick what is needed today in this marketplace at this particular moment in time, and what are you going to do that's different than even me, right? Because you are maybe you're competing with me, maybe not, right? As a friendly competition. Okay, well, see what you can do to compete, because I promise you I'm going to be doing the same thing, friendly, of course, I can share advice and want you to be successful, but at the end of the day, I'm going to compete with you. Right. I promise you I'm going to try to, especially if you're trying to get my customer base, I'm definitely going to take that very seriously. Yeah. And I'm going to be like, oh, here comes Kevin trying to get my customers. Okay. He ain't going to get it. And you already got this mentality that somebody's going to take your lunch money, bro.
Yeah.
And for me, I haven't had a.
Sorry about that. The camera died.
Yeah. Okay. So what were you saying? Taking your lunch money. Okay? Yeah. So basically, like, that whole concept is, like, in my mind, I've been a person that has never, like, only had like 2 jobs. So when I was really young, 17 years old. So at 18, that was my last job, and I had to go and fend for myself in the world and go and be an entrepreneur, and when it wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur, and if I wasn't out there trying to make something happen and make money, somebody else was going to do it. So you have to have this fear of losing yourself, and that's why a lot of people who have maybe some people that have money and are living a very comfortable life sometimes aren't the best at entrepreneurship, like as in building something from scratch. Maybe they can purchase something that's already been developed and already built, but to build something from scratch takes a lot of dedication, and you have to have a healthy fear of losing, and that healthy fear drives you to understand competition. You are competing. I think a lot of people don't understand in today's world that you are competing. I don't care if we're best friends or if we're whatever, because nowadays everybody wants to be a person who's selling cannabis, or everybody wants to do hair, or everybody wants, and it's so hard. It's so hard because, like, in my mind, I'm like, well, what makes you different? Of course, you probably thought about that 100 times or 1,000 times, So you got to come get my lunch money, Yeah. You got to get your lunch money at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. You got to get it. You got to get it from somewhere. How are you going to get it? Yeah. And you get it by delighting your customers, delighting your customer won, and as a result, you got your lunch money, right? Mm-hmm. Your customer won, and you got your lunch money, right?
Right.
Yeah. And if not, somebody else is going to make your customer win, and they will get their lunch money. Think about it like that. I don't know if that's the easiest.
No, that's like, that's deeper than what it sounds, you know? And honestly, it's not something that I actually prioritized, you know? And it's like something that obviously, I feel like that's the priority now, the customer's priority. And, it's like, you don't figure it out until maybe you ask for help or just figure it out on your own, so.
Yeah, it's, hey Kevin, I like this. What do you like about the way these pants fit? What do you like about the way this shirt fits, right? Mm-hmm. And you're want to understand your customer. Want to understand why you like that. Why do you like that? Why did you choose to wear black and gray today? Why? Yeah. Even when you're thinking about yourself, but when you're analyzing your customer, look at them and say why. Because at the end of the day, they have to win. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bro.
Customer wins.
I appreciate it. Like, you gave so much value, so much advice, and I feel like not only I'm learning from it, but I feel like, those who are watching this, they're learning a lot. I do want to end it off just because cameras and stuff are dying, but I do want to ask you two last questions I like to ask. So this one is a little personal, but you can answer it if you'd like. But do you believe in God? And if you do you feel like did that play a role in what you're doing today?
That's a great question because I do feel like there, when I went back and I started to think about this, I would often think that how could you be so lucky to live in the United States? How could you be so lucky to you be born at this certain time and have opportunities and that other people around the world may not have as we do here, and where certain things are important here where they're not very important in other parts of the world. And I have traveled to other countries and studied their culture and tried to appreciate their belief system. So as an artist, as a creative person myself, it is difficult for me to say that there is like a one true God, and everybody's opinion is so different when you start to travel around the world. And what makes me think that I was born in the correct place to be so much better than everybody else, to feel like the way that I believe is the way that it should be, and everybody else who doesn't believe that way, is kind of an odd concept to me. So that is like is a weird question for me, and it's a very slippery slope of a question, because God can be who you who you think that it is, for you personally, or culturally, even culturally, regionally, right. It's different across the globe. And so to that I would say that yes, though that I don't believe that the idea of what Americans personally think God is, maybe that we are the be all know all, and everybody else is wrong. Like 7.5 billion people are all wrong and we're right. Because we were born in America, 340 million people here, is probably not smart. I guess logical or reasonable. But the one common thing is that everybody across different parts of the world do believe in a higher power. And so, with that being said, I do agree, to that extent. What that is open to discussion and to their own personal belief system. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Interesting. So, all right, last question. Let's say you're about to die, right? And you can leave one piece of advice to the world that literally 8 billion people, they will hear this piece of advice and it could potentially change the world. What is that last piece of advice you would give?
I would say to not take yourself too seriously. Yeah.
No.
Don't try to feed your ego too much, because it's a losing game. You're gonna lose. Do things because do things out of the purity and authentically, as co-create, or we're co-creating together. As people, we're constantly co-creating and thinking as a hive mind how this world is going to turn out. So if you can do that with as little ego as you possibly can, it's hard because we're human. But if you can, it probably would make the world a better place if everybody brought it down a couple notches, I would say. Some people are kind of cool with their ego, it's a part of the whole attitude. But I would say, for the most part, a couple notches wouldn't hurt. Right. Probably people would live a little bit more peacefully. Yeah.
Cool. Brother, thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
Really appreciate it. Everybody, please make sure to like this video, subscribe, follow Hyde Park. I'm gonna leave all the links in the description.
Don't follow Hyde Park. Don't follow me at all.
Actually, you're not invited.
You're not invited. If you want to, that's cool. But hey, nobody's begging. Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.